The 24 teams for the upcoming 2024-2025 League 2 season have been confirmed. Let's have a look at the Bookies predictions. Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to yet another video. As I say, today we are taking a look at the Bookies early League 2 predictions for the upcoming season. And the first thing I'd say, making my own observation of this, is it's a very open division, and I wouldn't be surprised if these teams finish in absolutely any order. So I'm really excited to have a look at the Bookies predictions for this season. Before we get into the video, guys, make sure to show your support. Get your comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on this video, but make sure to drop a like. We'll go for 1,000 likes. It's free to hit the like button, and if you like your League 2 content, make sure to get involved. It's also free to subscribe, so please make sure you've hit the subscribe button. As you can see, we're on the road to 66,000 subscribers, so like and subscribe, and let's have a look at the Bookies predictions for the upcoming League 2 season. So then, with today's video, we're going to do it on a tier list. If you haven't already seen this, let me just quickly run it through you. I'll put them in order of the Bookmakers predictions, with the top 7 up here, the teams in the top half, the teams in mid-table, the teams just about surviving, and the Bookmakers bottom 2. And as you can see, they are the badges down there for the teams involved in the upcoming League 2 season. Let's start from the bottom then and work our way up. Who do the bookies think will come bottom of League 2 next season? Well, it might not come as a massive surprise to say it's Bromley. Bromley are the team back to finish 24th. Now, when I say it might not come as a massive surprise, that's not because I personally look at Bromley and think, oh, they're rubbish. That's not the case. I just think more often than not, the bookmakers can write off newly promoted teams and teams that are not experienced at this level as well. Bear in mind, this is going to be Bromley's first time in the Football League, and I personally am so excited for them. I thought they were fantastic last season, and to be honest, they were really good in the playoffs. I mean, that game against Solihull Moors at Wembley, either one of them could have got promoted, and in the end it was Bromley. So fair play to Bromley, fair play to Andy Woodman, who's done a fantastic job. Remember, it's a bottleneck down here. All they need to do is be better than 2 teams and they will stay up. Only 2 teams go down, so I always think you've got a chance when you come up from the National League. You have to be quite bad to get relegated if you think about it. Of course, the way I'd look at Bromley this season is they're going to be a bit of a wild card. You don't really know what to expect from them at this level. As I said, they were very good in the National League. You know, there's a couple of notable performances. They did beat Chesterfield 4-3 at home, and Chesterfield are backed to do very well this season, so we're going to come on to them in a bit. Last season, Bromley had Michael Cheek, who got 21 goals, and last season as well, they had the second best defence in the National League. So I personally wouldn't put them bottom. The bookmakers have, but the team we're going to come on to next, I think I've got more concerns about, and that team is Morecambe. Morecambe are backed to finish 23rd by the bookmakers, and you can understand why. The latest headlines to be coming out of Morecambe is that this troubled club is having a mass clear out of players, and right now they've got no manager, no chief executive, and just 5 players on the book coming into the new season. Now, yes, we're only in May, and that does give us a bit of time for Morecambe to get things fixed before the start of the season. But if you're a Morecambe fan right now, you've got to be worried, and I do have sympathy. I'm sure there will be some resolution in some way, shape or form, but you've got to be honest, they're going to need a really big summer to save that club right now. My best wishes go to Morecambe, but if I had to give my personal opinion right now, you'd have to agree with the bookies, putting them in the bottom 2. They've only got 5 players. Moving on to the teams that the bookmakers have got to avoid relegation this season, and we've got Harrogate Town first in about 22nd place, which would be quite the drop-off considering they finished in 13th place last season. Of course, with Harrogate Town, you've got Simon Weaver, the longest serving manager in the Football League. I mean, at one club. I know they've not always been in the Football League for that time, but you get my point. They did well last season. At the moment, not a lot of developments. We have seen, though, that Abraham Odo has gone out the door. He got 10 goals last season. He's gone to Peterborough United for an undisclosed fee deal. I mean, once again, if they survive relegation, that's fine, but this would be quite the drop-off. The bookmakers think they will fall down the table, but still survive. In the same category, we've got Newport County next. Newport County backed to finish about 21st by the bookmakers at the moment. Of course, they've got Graham Coughlin as the manager. Last season I was really impressed by Will Evans, actually. He got 24 goals, which is incredible. And I really enjoyed Newport County's little FA Cup run. The game they gave to Manchester United as well. I thought they were really impressive. The thing is, though, towards the end of last season, they ended in really rotten form with 8 defeats in a row. If they take that kind of form into the start of next season, it really could spell trouble. The bookies think there'll be a little drop from them, but they'll still stay up in the division. They've gone from an 18th place finish last season to a 21st place finish. If you're a Newport fan, do be sure to give your thoughts. In 20th place, the bookies have gone with Accrington Stanley. Accrington, with John Doolan as the manager, have been one of the busiest clubs so far in the transfer window and in the market so far. We've seen new deals and new signings, including the likes of Kelsey Mooney, Michael Kelly and Tyler Walton. So I do really like how Accrington are going after this transfer window, getting quite a lot of business done early. That said, though, the bookies have still got them to drop down the table a little bit from a 17th place finish last season to a 20th place finish this season. The team just above Accrington, the final team in this bracket, are Colchester United. Now, Colchester United just about stayed up in League 2 last season by the skin of their teeth. They got over the line with a draw. In the end, they stayed up 3 points clear of Sutton United, who of course went down to the National League. They've got Danny Cowley as the manager, and he has promised a summer of revolution at Colchester United, which are big words, to be honest. You know, you've really got to follow these words up. If he says something like that and then they finish 22nd again, it really doesn't show any progress, of course. So yeah, I'd like to see Colchester United pushing up the table, and the bookmakers have got them going from 22nd to 19th. I'll put that to the Colchester fans. Would that be a good enough step forwards, or do you really want to strive towards mid-table, or is top half achievable? Share your thoughts. In 18th place, the bookies have gone for Swindon Town. This is an interesting one because right now the picture is not clear. Gavin Gunning is the manager at the moment, but of course he is just an interim manager, so the search for a new manager goes on. But we have seen recently the Swindon fans calling for a change in ownership as well. So when there is that sort of unsettled picture in the background, it's hard to be, you know, very successful on the pitch. I mean, we'll see. Last season, Swindon Town finished in 19th place. The bookies have bumped them up to 18th place, which is hardly, you know, particularly generous, but it's a slight improvement, I guess. They were the top scorers in the bottom 10 of the division last season, so if that's anything to go by, they might be able to blast themselves up the table a little bit. We will see. Just above Swindon Town, we've got Grimsby Town next. Another one where you're just kind of waiting to see what happens in the summer. Grimsby Town have David Artell as the manager, and we've seen them release 11 players at the start of this summer, but they've not brought anyone in yet. One of the key players for last season, Grimsby Town, was Danny Rose, of course, who got 15 goals. If they can, you know, sign another decent goal scorer, there's no doubt they could blast into the top half of the division. But the bookies do think they'll improve. They've gone from a 21st place finish to a 17th place finish in the bookmakers' eyes. So Grimsby fans, be sure to share your thoughts. Just above Grimsby, we come on to Barrow, who've dropped down the table quite a lot in this prediction. They finished in 8th place last season, and the bookmakers have Pete Wild's Barrow team to finish down in 16th this time round. You've got to be honest, the poor form towards the end of the season is what cost them the playoffs. You know, I think that's happened for a couple seasons running now, where Barrow have been in a good position and not ended the season in particularly great form. We have seen them make a transfer already. They've brought in goalkeeper Will Stanway from Chester, so we'll see what he's like. I think he performed quite well in the National League North last season, so yeah, we'll see from Barrow, but the bookies have got them dropping down the table a little bit, which I think is a little bit harsh. On to the next team, we've got Fleetwood Town, the first of the newly relegated teams to feature in this video. The bookies have got them to finish around mid-table. Certainly going to be difficult to put your finger on Fleetwood. They did so well staying in League One for such a long time. I think it was it 10 years they were in League One? It feels like it. Charlie Adam as the manager. Last season, the best player in terms of goals was Jaden Stockley. He got 9 goals. It does feel like there's going to be a big rebuild at Fleetwood Town. As a club, they've been on a really good journey, maybe over the last 10 years or even more than that, but this is really where they're going to have to sort of dig deep and go again to get themselves back to League One. The next team is another team who's just come down. It's Cheltenham, who finished in 21st last season. They were relegated on the final day, weren't they? They're back to finish around mid-table next season, but it's certainly right now, as of recording, one of those difficult ones to place, because the big talking point right now is that the manager, Darryl Clark, has just left for Barnsley, and the day before that as well, we've seen 3 players rejecting new contracts. So if you're a Cheltenham fan, right now, it's a bit of a cause for concern, of course, isn't it? I would just like to think that this club will get things right, though. It's going to be a difficult summer, but I would imagine that Cheltenham will get things right eventually. But right now, you know, they're placed to finish mid-table. But as I say, once they've got a new manager and they've got plenty of players coming through the door, maybe the bookmakers will have them to finish in the top 10 or something. The final team in this category, I think this is quite harsh, it's Crewe. Now, Crewe, of course, finished in the playoffs last season. They did amazingly well. Lee Bell guided them to the playoffs, and then they did so well against Doncaster in the semi-finals, didn't they? Coming back from 2-0 to get through to Wembley. I just think at Wembley, Crawley wanted it a bit more. I mean, the Crewe players didn't necessarily turn up. That said, I think if they can keep the core of that team, they'd be able to go again this season, but the bookmakers don't think so. The bookies have got them to drop into about mid-table this time round. And one of the big talking points has got to be Elliot Nevitt. He got 18 goals. He's currently in talks for a new contract. So the Crewe fans will be praying that they can tie Elliot Nevitt's services down for quite a long time into the future. Let's have a look at the top half then. Who do the bookies think will finish in the top half? Let's start with Tranmere Rovers. So the bookies have got them to finish in 12th place. Actually, I've just realised, is that their old badge now? I feel like Tranmere Rovers have got a new one. You'll have to tell me off down in the comments, guys. I believe they've got a new one now. Anyway, we'll go with the old one. I like the old one. Tranmere Rovers finished in 16th place last season. They've got Nigel Adkins as the manager, which I only just remembered when I was looking at Tranmere for this video. So they finished 16th last year. The bookies have got them to climb up to 12th place. We've seen the likes of Norris, Wood and O'Connor signing new contracts, which of course is great. And last season they had a couple of players that chipped in with quite a lot of goals. You know, Rob Apter got 13 goals, Connor Jennings got 12 goals. I think I could see why the bookies think they'll get into the top half. If you're a Tranmere fan, do share your thoughts. The bookies think you'll be sniffing around the playoffs. Next up then, in 11th place, we have Walsall, who did finish 11th place last season. And while we're here, we'll also mention Wimbledon are back to finish 10th. Now, I find it quite boring when the bookies back teams to finish where they did last season, because Wimbledon finished 10th, Walsall finished 11th. That's what they're going for those two clubs next season. Let's start with Walsall, of course. Matt Sadler as the manager, and we've seen that he's signed a new contract, which really does give that club some more stability coming into the next season, of course. The player I was most impressed by for Walsall last season, I really liked Isaac Hutchinson, who got 13 goals from midfield as well. Really impressive player, and you know, I can see why Walsall would be in the top half again. I just find it boring that the bookies have got them to finish in the same place. Walsall fans, of course, will be hoping to go one better this time round and try and sneak into the top 7. The same has got to be said for AFC Wimbledon. Johnny Jackson is at the wheel. He's been there since 2022 now. They've signed Matty Stevens already, which is a really decent signing. It's a good striker there. And last season I was really impressed by Ali Al-Hamadi, who got 16 goals in 27 appearances, which is a really good return there. So they've certainly got the firepower, Wimbledon. With a few more additions this summer, I can't see why they wouldn't be able to get into the playoffs this time round. The bookies have got them there or thereabouts. In 9th place next, we have Salford City. The bookies always like Salford City, don't they? Because despite finishing in 20th place last season, they've got them to finish 9th next season. Yeah, it's certainly possible. Carl Robinson, experienced manager at this level. We've seen that Nicky Butt has claimed that he's going to invest in Salford City. You know, they really do want Salford to get to League One, because they've had an incredible rise, but they've really been stuck in League Two in terms of their progress has been halted. And one of the big things for Salford City, of course, is the loss of Matt Smith, who got 25 goals last season. That's going to be difficult to replace, but the bookies still think they'll improve drastically on last season. The final team just missing out on the playoffs are Doncaster Rovers. Grant McCann's Doncaster. I thought they were really good last season, easily the best team in the final third of the season. The form they were in was ridiculous. And, you know, they got off to such a good start in the playoffs, and I was so surprised after they won the away game at Crewe 2-0 that they didn't get through to Wembley. And a lot of Doncaster fans will feel like if they did, they could have gone on and obviously won the competition and be in League One right now. That said, they've got to start again from League Two. They've already signed Joe Sparra from Solihull Moors. That's a really good signing. I really like him. I've watched Solihull Moors quite a bit over the last few years. Really decent signing. And we've seen that Grant McCann is looking at eyeing up all kinds of different transfers at the moment. So I think Doncaster Rovers will have a good summer transfer window, but right now, you know, obviously not much activity has happened, so we will wait and see, but I have a feeling Grant McCann will have a strong window at Doncaster and be able to get them pushing in the right direction. Let's move on to the top 7 then, and yes, it's a top 7 for those of you that don't know. 4 teams go into the playoffs, 3 go up automatically. In 7th place, it's Bradford City. The bookies are always quite hot on Bradford at the start of every League Two campaign, and it feels like every year Bradford City just falls short. Last season, Bradford did fall short of the playoffs. They finished in 9th place, of course. Graham Alexandra came in November. And from there, they had a 52% win ratio for the rest of the season, which is a really, really strong finish. Like we said, though, they just missed out on the playoffs. We've already seen them sign the likes of Neil Byrne and Anthony Sarcevic this summer transfer window, which is really good. And of course, if they can retain the services of Andy Cook, that'd be incredible. He got 17 goals last season. If you're a Bantams fan, how are you feeling coming into the new season? Just above Bradford then, in 6th place, we've got Notts County. Do you know what? Even though Notts County finished in, 14th place last season, they're one of the most entertaining teams to watch in this division. And I just like them as a club as well. Notts County are a huge club for this level, especially when they were in the National League as well. Can they get things right this time around? It did feel like they got off to such a strong start last season. The bookies thought they'd do well. I thought they'd do well. They did do well. And then they kind of fell away, and it was a good result, bad result, good result, bad result. They just really struggled for consistency after the first third of the season. They were the joint 3rd top scorers in League Two last season, but they did concede the most goals last year, which is just crazy. The fact they conceded the most goals in the division but still had a positive goal difference just goes to show how crazy this team was. We've seen which players they've released. They've released 6 players, including Bostock and Jim O'Brien, but it is about retooling now as they go again to get to League One. Some of the players they've got: Langstaff, Crowley, McGoldrick, Jody Jones. They've got so much firepower. I'm sure Notts County can get it right this time and be sniffing around the playoffs. Share your thoughts if you're a Notts County fan. In 5th place, the bookies have gone for Gillingham. Gillingham are back to finish in the top 5 this season after a 12th place finish last season. They've just brought in Mark Bonner, of course, the former Cambridge United boss, and he was the boss that got them promoted from this level. So obviously Gillingham are hoping for him to repeat the same trick. It really does feel like they need a big, strong summer transfer window here, and they really need strikers in this big window. Conor Mahoney last season was their top scorer with just 7 goals. So you can see the problem there. The fact that they still finished in the top half, just about, but with their top scorer scoring 7 goals, you know, shows the team's got potential, just does need that firepower. Gills fans, share your thoughts down below. The final team not to make the top 3 are Port Vale, who are backed to finish in 4th place. Port Vale, of course, came down 23rd place last season in League One. After a 2-year spell in that division, they return now, and they're back to finish in the playoffs, which is how they got promoted last time from League Two, of course. This time round, they have Darren Moore as the manager. Port Vale have released 3 players recently, including James Wilson, who was, you know, quite a decent goal scorer for Port Vale, especially when I think back to the League Two season, of course. They've signed Ronan Curtis, though, from AFC Wimbledon, which does look to be a decent signing. So the business is starting to happen at Port Vale. I do think, personally, they will be at that top end. Port Vale fans, share your thoughts. So then, on to the Bookmakers' top 3 then. Which teams have they backed for automatic promotion? Well, in 3rd place, it's MK Dons, who did finish in 4th place last season, and Yeah, I mean, they were so close to getting automatic promotion, of course, weren't they? But the way they crashed out in the playoffs, they really do need Mike Williamson to put his arm around those players for them to be able to go again next season. And do you know what? The way I look at it for MK Dons this summer, it just needs a bit of rejigging, doesn't it? You know, a couple of players out, a couple of players in. They were so close last season, and you'd maybe make the argument that League Two next season maybe isn't going to be as strong as last season, with the likes of Stockport and Wrexham all being so powerful. At this moment in time, we've seen that they've released 5 players. They have given a new contract to Dean Lewington, of course, who's been there for absolutely ages. Fair play to him. A player I was really impressed with last season was Max Dean, of course. The 20-year-old scored 17 in just 32 games last season. Really, really good return there. And MK Dons with Mike Williamson are back to a top 3 finish. In second place, it's the team that finished rock bottom of League One. It's Paul Simpson's Carlisle United. Now, Carlisle are backed to do very well next season, the best out of any of the newly relegated teams. And maybe right now, one of the things you could put that down to is the fact Carlisle have known for a bit longer than the other teams that they would be in League Two. I mean, they had a chance of surviving relegation up until about Christmas or New Year, but after that, it really did seem like the writing was on the wall. But it was almost like as if after their relegation, a couple of results and performances started to go for them, maybe once the pressure was lifted. Now, Paul Simpson is going to have to dust them down and pick them up and go again. He's done it before. He got them through the League Two playoffs just a year ago now, of course. We have seen that they've released 8 players, but they have just re-signed Aaron Hayden from Wrexham, which could be a really decent signing. I am intrigued to see what business Carlisle United do over this summer, and the fact they're sticking by Paul Simpson. I think Carlisle United have a good chance of bouncing back next year. If you're a Carlisle fan, do share your thoughts. But the team the bookmakers have backed to outright win the division next season is Chesterfield FC, and it's now become a bit of a thing that the bookmakers are really hot on the team that has just won the National League, and for good reason. I mean, look at the past couple of winners. Stockport County in League One now, Wrexham in League One now. Can Chesterfield FC follow in their footsteps? Now, they were very impressive last season. They won the National League. Maybe you can say they did take their foot off the gas a little bit once they were promoted, but maybe that's natural. Paul Cook, very experienced manager in the Football League, of course. He's been at Chesterfield since February 2022 and has a win percentage of 56%. I'm sure it might not be the same in League Two. The National League isn't as difficult a division, but I personally agree with the bookmakers, thinking Chesterfield will climatise to this jump quite well. To back them to win the league, though, is interesting, and I want to hear the Chesterfield fans' opinions on that. Let me know your thoughts. We've already seen them get off to a flyer with the transfer business as well. Kane Drummond has been signed, and of course, Paddy Madden from Stockport County, and his goals to game ratio speaks for itself. Very experienced player at this level. I also, like the bookmakers, have a good feeling about Chesterfield. Let's see if the Spyrights can make it back-to-back promotions. So then, guys, that wraps up today's video. That is the bookmakers' sort of early League Two predictions for next season. Do be sure to share your thoughts. If you're feeling brave, get your predictions down in the comments. If you want to see more League Two content, make sure to drop a like, and make sure as well to subscribe. I will give my own early League Two predictions in a couple weeks' time, so make sure you're subscribed so you see that video when it goes out. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Peace out.